Howdy folks, and welcome to FoundFlix. On this Ending Explained, we're looking at Strange Darling, where nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a vicious murder spree. Strange Darling is a well-done indie thriller which uses an out-of-order structure to the story to keep the audience constantly on its toes and leads to several surprising twists. It was funny to learn that twice the studio tried to re-edit the movie into chronological order, because this would completely undo the entire thing. It helps to add a more exciting and surprising element to what amounts to a fairly basic overall story. And what I guess you call the big twist isn't exactly unexpected either. Really what elevates the movie are the performances from our two leads. We already know Kyle Gallner is on his way to becoming a certified scream king, but really the entire movie rests on Willa Fitzgerald's unhinged shoulders. I've only seen her before in the Scream TV series, and her performance here is quite impressive. Now when it comes to how our story turns out, there are quite a few things left unexplored, leaving us with much to think about. So let's check out Strange Darling, breaking down the story, how it all connects together, also including what we learned about the killer and explaining the ending and what it means. Immediately setting the precedent of presenting things out of context, our opening is a flash of a man RC in a truck. A woman asks him a strange question: "Are you a serial killer?" We seem to get the answer in another glimpse of him strangling someone and hearing a woman choking. We're then informed via a Texas Chainsaw style text crawl just how dangerous this serial killer is. Over the course of 2 years, they went on a spree across several states before culminating in rural Oregon. What we're about to see is supposedly a dramatization based on real evidence and eyewitness accounts of that true story, which is total bull, of course. Beginning in stark black and white, oversaturated color starts slowly fading in as a terrified lady in red scrubs runs through the woods. As we will come to expect, we don't know what exactly is happening here, which is only made more confusing as our first chapter presented is actually chapter 3. Can you help me please? A red Pinto roars down the road, well, for a Pinto, and a big truck is in hot pursuit. RC chases her down twisty tree-lined roads, and he keeps doing heaps of cocaine, which causes him to swerve. He wants to end this now and slams to a screeching stop. He hops into his truck bed and fires, shattering the back windshield. The lady loses control of the car and it topples over, crashing out. He hurries back into his truck as she struggles to pull herself free. The truck speeds right for her and she jumps out of the way in the nick of time. The lady disappears into the woods and RC tries to follow after, but seems to have lost her for now. She happens upon some belongings left in a tree trunk and takes a moment to assess her injury. She removes the bandage, revealing a mass of blood, like her ear is just gone. Utilizing some vodka, she pours it painfully over the wound to disinfect it. She writhes in pain, but makes sure to not allow herself to scream. Despite most likely wanting to remain undetected, she lights up a cigarette. Sure hope he can't smell anything. She pushes her luck on another grateful drag before stamping out the butt and getting a move on. She comes to a fence along with a house on the other side. Things feel a bit off as she approaches the house, and there are several speakers placed outside playing a radio show about local conspiracies like cults and Bigfoot. The lady starts shouting for help and pounding at the door. Meanwhile, the demon, as he's credited, finds the remnants of the vodka bottle. Not too far behind, we see. An older couple answer the door, the wife at the ready with a can of bear spray. She pleads emotionally for their assistance, and we skip right to chapter 5. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. The lady is hiding out in a freezer. Here, kitty, 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 the demon beckons. We see they are still at the couple's house, and he is still on the hunt. He stalks through the interior and finds a chest in a bedroom. He teases again, here, kitty, kitty, before shooting, but finds it's empty. In another room, there's another possible hiding spot. He fires again, and it's another miss, the demon getting frustrated. He continues into another area, spotting a body on the floor in the kitchen, blood pooling at the side. RC discovers the old man dead and the phone off the hook, and the back door is wide open. He steps outside and notices a bunch of meat all strewn around. He then starts putting things together, looking back towards the house. The lady clicks her lighter, hearing footsteps approaching. He repeats his catchphrase once more and fires. The lady screams, and he knocks her out cold. Then we move all the way back to chapter 1, Mr. Snuffleupagus. Cute, I think. And discover how the pair initially met. Demon's truck pulls up to the Blue Angel Motel, and we see the same shot from the very beginning, now in color as he likes to smoke. She toots on her own vape and longs for one of the real things. They flirt a bit and go right into some serious smooching. He proposes. Does she still want to get a room? If not, they can just swap numbers or something. She laughs. No one asks for numbers anymore, old man. It's all about the Insta. They dial things back a bit, and he fetches some beers from the back, also seeing his rifle lying there. The lady remains hesitant about taking things to the next level. She doesn't normally do this. It's not that she has a problem with it, she just has to really want to. He mentions being married, and their marriage has already fallen apart. Sure, why not make it worse? She says it isn't about that. That's his business. For her, this is my recreation, and I deserve it, she declares before taking a swig. Hell yeah, he agrees, grabbing some cheap hooch from the glove box. The lady broaches the real fear here: safety. Once they're in that room, it's just the two of them, you know. She moans it's a huge risk every time she goes looking to have some fun. It's a goddamn tragedy. Men seem to think that women don't enjoy casual sex, but in fact, most do, as long as it doesn't come with a side of murder. RC is taken aback. He never thought of it that way, and she scoffs, of course not, you're a dude. Then in a lesser way, there's a potential of disappointment. That's the most common, she says. But violence, hey, that's no joke. That's life or death. They both start awkwardly chuckling, and now she wants a cigarette of her own. She determines so far that he seems like a good guy, but how can she know for sure? And outright asks, are you a serial killer? He can't believe the question, and when he says, of course not, struggles to get the words out. Okay, she smiles and seems satisfied with the answer. Now we can talk about all the things she wants him to do to her. Oh boy. In the room, it's now the other shot scene at the beginning, but again now with different context. This was actually a consensual kinky sex thing, and her idea to boot. She keeps pushing him to go further, and he tightens his grip. But then she gasps to stop, and it seems that the moment has soured. She's bummed this isn't working for her, and implies that it's his fault. He's fine with taking things slow, and actually seems to be interested in having more of a relationship. He takes her closer and asks for her precious digits or social media or whatever. She's not on social media, and that only makes him want that number even more. Things get heated again, yet once more the lady also abruptly pumps the brakes. This time he doesn't relent and appears to take control, handcuffing her back to the bed in spite of her pleading. He really steps into the dominant role, demanding that she call him sir from now on, and that he is in control now. She appears to get upset, and he only pushes things further. She whimpers, "Don't kill me!" and he spits that she's a sick woman, carrying shackles around looking to get perked. She's now full on sobbing, and he reminds her that she wanted this right. Yes, she cries, and he threatens to slice her up end to end. She bawls, writhing in terror, and whimpers, "Mr. Snuffleupagus." We flash back to the truck prior and realize all that too was part of their game, so to speak. Quite intense there, and Mr. Snuffleupagus was their safe word to call things off for real. She is surprised that he's into it, and while RC isn't too experienced, he's willing to give it a try. He did do some acting in a Holiday Inn commercial, but you know, it was a little bit different. She lays down the ground rules. No matter what, don't stop, no matter what she says. He's still uneasy with the whole setup, and she prods him as usual. Don't be a puss. Okay, he caves to her delight. She digs through a bag, and he readjusts a piece strapped to his ankle. This is not going to end well. Well, I guess we know that already. Anyway, we're back to the present, and RC quickly undoes her restraints, quite apologetic. The lady still appears in shambles, but it's all a joke. Man, she is quite the actor too, huh? He's confused. If she's okay, then why use a safe word? Well, she just needed a little break. Things take a turn when she pulls back and there's a flash of something red and dark. Her lip starts quivering, and we jump to Chapter 4, The Mountain People. The couple seen later with the lady are having a quite pleasant morning before she shows up. They are both absolutely stoned out of their gourds, laughing uncontrollably with each sip of joe. Begley goes on to create one of the most monstrous stoner breakfasts I've ever seen, maybe ever, honestly. He starts off with some sausages and then eggs fried in an entire stick of butter. This madman is just getting started, using the sausage fat to whip up some flapjacks. He constructs his masterpiece, assembling a pile of cholesterol, topping it with jam, syrup, and whipped cream. Good lord, I would literally die after eating that. They get back to work on a Scott Baio puzzle, competing over who gets more pieces done. The lady then shows up, pounding frantically at the door. That's a crazy lady, Barb deduces, and he tells her to get the bear spray. We now catch up with the end of Chapter 3 with the day's couple meeting her. They allow her inside and wonder what happened. Begley considers that it might have been a squatchy, but then remembers there's no way it would have torn her to shreds. The lady knows that it was a man that did this and he was driving a truck. Well, squatchy can't drive either, Begley muses. The lady hopes that they have a gun, but nope, just the bear spray. She's annoyed. I thought all mountain people had guns, but she's corrected. No, they're just old hippies. She's taken over by a wave of pain, and they offer her some painkillers. Barb goes to fetch them, and the lady notices the mountain of morsels. He kindly tells her to help herself, and even grabs her a chair. She starts scarfing down, and he goes to call the police. She doesn't want them involved, but he thinks it's really for the best. The lady gets stern. Please don't call the police. Barb is busy upstairs, rummaging through the piles of medications. She hears something and rushes downstairs. She passes through that same area the demon is in later, and we know what what's waiting for her in the kitchen. She swings open the door, hearing Begley groaning. He weakly calls her name, and his face is busted up good by the phone, along with a knife in the chest. Well, up to this point, we already had a pretty good understanding that the lady had a few screws loose, but she straight up murdered that dude that was nothing but nice to her just to save her own ass. It's pretty obvious already that she is in fact the killer rather than RC. Barb is so zonked that she barely reacts to the horror before her eyes. The lady explains she didn't want to do that, she was forced to. And shockingly, she doesn't want to kill her, but she is gonna have to at least tie her up or something. Alright, Barb wheezes. She asks, what do they have around here? Ropes or, you know, whatever is best for you. That's very thoughtful of you, Barb mumbles. There's a storm shelter outside and she can chain her in there. There's food and stuff there too. They're not just hippies, but also doomsday preppers. On the way to lock her up, Lady looks briefly off into the woods and Barb makes a run for it. She sees RC approaching and with nowhere else to hide, she hoofs it back to the house. She quickly empties the freezer, grabbing a leather jacket and the bear spray before diving inside. She closes her eyes tightly, and when hearing him getting close, closes the lid, connecting back to the beginning of chapter 5. And as we kick back to chapter 2, things really come into focus. Lady asks RC, do you like to party? And produces a bag of cocaine. He's not so sure, I mean, it's almost morning. She dismisses his sentiments. Hey, this is good stuff, and tries to sweeten the pot. It makes her quite randy. He hasn't used in a long while, and she pours it on. Come on, it's just a special one-time thing for my birthday. That's all it takes, RC saying, well, you can't let a lady down on her birthday. Man, she sure can play this dude like a fiddle, huh? She finally makes her true intentions clear, and out of his sight adds a vial of another mystery white powder onto the tray along with the cocaine. She offers him the mystery substance and lures him over to the bed. She starts going feral, licking his face and stuff, only to push him away again. RC can't believe it, and when he tries to be straightforward, asking, are we going to fuck, she finishes for him in a derisive tone. She offers that if he can still even function in 5 minutes, sure. RC is stupefied. Didn't you say that stuff makes you want to get down? It looks like I just put her in a bad mood. Lady gets real with him, suggesting that maybe she lied. He doesn't know what's real or not anymore and gives up on their whole twisted game here. She grabs her red bag and holds up in the toilet, also bathed in red. She smacks herself to try to pump herself up, it seems. She then retrieves a knife and then a taser from her bag. She exits and finds the door open. RC didn't get too far, found in a drooling puddle just outside. She drags him by the legs back in as he weakly fails to get a grip. She gets him inside and slams the door. And oh yeah, don't forget your knife. RC is completely incapacitated, bug-eyed, and foaming at the mouth. Cocaine, he mumbles, and she reveals that she tricked him. He actually took ketamine instead. Uh-oh, pull the old Musk switcheroo on ya. She expresses in what seems an earnest way that she didn't want to do this. She was just trying to have a good time, and all he can do is grunt back. She turns on the radio to Love Hurts, and she's delighted. I frickin' love this song. She starts singing along and gets on top of him, wielding her knife. We don't exactly see what's happening, but based on the sounds, it's definitely not pleasant. After, she cleans the blood off her hands. She removes her wig and tosses it in the trash. She now has his belongings, and when rifling through his wallet, gets quite a surprise, finding out that he's law enforcement. Lady takes in this revelation, which almost seems to excite her all the more. She checks out her handiwork, seeing E and L scrawled into his skin. I've never put it there before, she remarks while caressing it tenderly. She pushes his face back and gets her knife ready to continue, but he has a surprise for her. He fires and wings the side of her head, blowing her ear clean off. He fires a few more times, but his arm is still wobbly. A neighbor pops out angry. She screams that he has a gun. Well, I do too, he grunts, returning inside. She climbs over the balcony, hurriedly fleeing from the scene. On the way out, she bursts into the front desk, asking for help, the pair there horrified at her appearance. Meanwhile, RC struggles his way out of the bed and makes his way over to the sweet, sweet cocaine. He dumps out a massive amount and dives right in. Yep, that'll get you sorted out real good. He does another mound for good measure and starts to regain a bit of control of his body. The desk lady locks the door from the inside while the nurse Tanya thinks she should get out of here. Our lady stops her. If you go out there, he's gonna kill you. She hopes that they have some kind of firepower, but no such luck as usual, only a baseball bat. Desk lady tells Tanya to call 911 and she still doesn't want to get involved. Shockingly, lady stabs her right in the neck. She snatches her phone away and screams primally. Lady manages to calm down, saying she knows that was awful, but she had to do it. She then asks her name and needs some bandages along with her car. The 78 Pinto right outside, she's told. Lady can't believe it. Seriously? But yep, beggars can't be choosers, and red of course. She kicks it into high gear and takes off, sending us into chapter 6. Who's Gary Gilmore? After Demon found her and did wing her in the freezer, she is passed out. He waits with his gun trained on her. Even now, RC cannot take the shot to his frustration. He takes a seat to think of what to do now. now. He finds some handcuffs and attaches her to the freezer. He phones an old buddy of his, Pete, choosing his words carefully. He's got himself into a bit of trouble and needs a little assistance. Yeah, I'll say. He returns and finds the lady now awake. I got you now, you cunt, he sneers. That's true, she concedes. It's like checkmate. And then some, he smirks. She has to point out there's nothing more than checkmate, you Philistine. Then she takes a beat. Wait, why am I still alive? Then she figures it out. He couldn't do it, even after everything she did to him. He knows he's gonna be in trouble, but it is better than a life sentence for murder. He does another bump, and she pokes him once more. Want me to call your sponsor? She spills her true identity as the infamous serial killer, the Electric Lady. After all of her killings, at this point, she wants jail. She doesn't want to die, so she's doing anything she can now to stay alive. Initially, she thought she'd be like another killer, Gary Gilmore, who asked for the firing squad. EL assumed that she'd want that too, but now she just wants 3 hots and a cot, showing how desperate she is to trick him again. She appears to pour her heart out, essentially trying to convince RC she is in love with him. Her voice trembles. She felt that for him. Did he feel the same way? To convince him further, she starts weakly singing Love Hurts Through Sniffles. That's our song now, she concludes. You'll always think of me when you hear it. Maybe, he shrugs. Not maybe, she fires back and surprises him with a shot of the bear spray right in the face. Well, worked to distract him, so the plan did work. He stumbles around blindly and she nails him again. The lady is able to get him close and takes a massive chomp out of his neck. RC begins bleeding profusely and tumbles to the floor. Well, she got him dealt with, but how is she gonna get out of here? RC continues bleeding out and struggles to breathe before ceasing movement. Well, probably regret not taking that shot now. Although potentially she wasn't totally full of beans, the lady eyeing him longingly. So perhaps some of those feelings were true? Climbing out isn't too difficult, but the cuffs mean that she can't move too far. Through a lot of effort, she pulls RC's body close enough to get his ankle piece, pocketing it for now. It sounds like she might be in luck, hearing footsteps approaching. The lady decides to frame the scene to look like she's the victim, pulling down her pants. It's RC's buddy Pete arriving. He, along with a lady cop, come to the grisly scene, and he's bowled over by all the violence. He goes to check RC's pulse, and Gail tells him to not touch him. Perhaps understandably, Gail takes the entire scene at face value, and is on the lady's side without any question whatsoever. And also somehow never finds her gun despite being all over her, you know. Pete, on the other hand, demands to follow protocol. They need to figure out exactly what happened first and call it in. Gail knows she won't last until the med team gets here. They have to intervene. He maintains that that's a bad idea, and she doesn't listen, uncuffing the lady. She cries out that it was horrible, he was coked out of his mind, and Petey finds the evidence of such in his pocket. He is also shocked by the bite in his neck. What happened there? And Gail steps in. She was clearly trying to defend herself. Well, that is kind of true, in a way. The cops keep bickering, and Gail thinks that he's not listening because she's a woman. He dismisses this completely. It's because he has a lot more experience than she does. And to be fair, he is right to be concerned here. Gail is totally off the mark. It's that same idea that we've seen throughout. By default, we think the woman is the victim, which has proven fatal time and time again. Lady decides to amp up the performance and starts violently convulsing. Gail demands that he help so they can get her medical attention, and he relents to lend a hand. The whole charade is surprisingly short-lived, as they happen across a frantic Genevieve aimlessly wandering around. She blabbers about a lady that came and killed us, and then spots the very culprit in the back seat. The killer shoots her dead right in the head, and the tables quickly turn. She orders the cops to hand over their pieces, or else the girl dies. As seems to be sort of a pattern for the Electric Lady, whenever there are 2 potential victims, she always lets one live. Especially in the case with Gail, as she helped her out. It's only fair. Pete curses Gail for her short-sightedness, and is ready to wring her neck. The lady warns if she goes, he does too. She's in survival mode now, so all of those rules, like I was just saying, are right out the window. Gail still tries to appeal to her, suggesting that turning herself in would be the best course of action. The lady lets them know who they're really dealing with, spitting, "Bitch, I'm the Electric Lady." Gail instantly gets a lot more terrified and decides it is probably best to take her leave. She runs off into the woods, and Elle growls for Pete to drive, which leads to our epilogue, appropriately titled The Electric Lady. The cop car is parked in the middle of the road, and Elle admits that she needs to think of her next step. Are you really her? Pete wants to know. She nods, that is true. The natural follow-up question would be, are you gonna kill me? She considers, well, I'd rather not. His next question gives us our only real insight into Elle's motivation. Why kill all those people. Elle starts getting emotional, revealing sometimes I don't see humans, I see devils. At that admission, Peta's all, oh, she's nuts. Right on cue, she looks into the rearview mirror and is suddenly horrified. She must now be seeing one of those devils in Pete and immediately shoots him, his blood splattering the windshield. Elle stumbles out of the car, shell-shocked and slack-jawed. Things are looking up a little bit when she finds a pack of cigs in her pocket. She helps herself and really seems to enjoy all those chemicals tearing through her system. A little ways down the road, another car comes into view. Elle falls to her knees and cries in pain, always the actor. The driver goes to help and carefully gets her to her feet. She loads her into the truck and Elle stares into the mirror at her reflection. She's overtaken by the devils again, now appearing to see herself as one, which makes sense considering all the murder. Almost like only now at her most desperate state does she see who she truly is. Her brows furrow, and she starts to shake as there's more flashes and tears start streaming down her face. And with no way out of her situation, she almost provides a mercy kill for herself. She weakly draws the piece from her pocket, and the ladies at Faster Draw blasting her first. The driver calls the authorities and explains exactly what happens, knowing this truly is the end of the Electric Lady's rampage. Came to a halt with a whimper after so many close calls. Elle starts coughing and hacking, and the color starts fading from the image. As she gets weaker and finally passes, we're left with only black and white, just as at the beginning. She slumps over gone. As the song crescendos, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Appropriate. She's a devil. Now even by the end, we don't really know that much about the Electric Lady at all. Just a few little scraps, really. The biggest thing is definitely that she is seeing devils in place of people. Probably goes without saying, but this points to obvious mental health issues. I say this because she doesn't seem to have a particular reason or MO behind her killings. Just kind of going across the states on a psychotic rampage and doing what she has to survive, which is kind of odd since the opening called it calculated. Well, not really. Survival seems to be her biggest cornerstone, as there are several people she kills but does not see them as devils. They were just gonna call the cops. She also just doesn't kill everyone she encounters, so there is some kind of method that she follows. Again, we don't really get much. The most interesting element to all this is her encounter with RC at the motel. In retrospect, I wonder what Elle was really after here. Of course, there's a whole toying with our expectations thing. She's worried about him and violence, but really, she's a threat, sure. The whole setup is definitely strange, with her essentially pushing his boundaries repeatedly, but things definitely take a distinct turn when she sees a devil in RC. It really does feel like a switch was clicked after this moment. I can't help but wonder if Elle initially was only after some fun and wasn't intending to murder her paramour, at least until the devil thing, so maybe there is some humanity in there? There are potential moments that hint at her maybe actually having feelings towards RC, but considering all of her actions as a whole, I think this was just more about manipulation and kind of toying with him, more than a glimmer of humanity buried deep within. Basically, overall, she's nuts. That'll do it for this Inning Explained for Strange Darling. But if you have any requests for anything you'd like to see me cover, send them my way on any of my socials. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.